The mythical guardians, guarding the path to the tomb of the ancient dark being, just as Sensei had described.
I feel like we owe your sensei a great deal for all of his guidance.
Yeah, we should throw him the mother of all parties when we get back.
William, you made it!
Yes. And do you now possess all of the elemental powers? You bet we do! Then I must humbly thank you for aiding me in securing my rightful place as ruler of the world.
What?
Lucky for you, I'm a fair man, so I'm willing to offer you a piece of my new world to call your own. Wait, Elijah? What are you... Ah, yes, I think it's time they knew the truth, Elijah. Don't you?
That's the ancient darkness. You're working with it?
And you call yourself a lion? You're going to make a fine crater!
Let me take the first shot, and it'll be a headless crater.
The very best kind! Wait a sec. We left Elijah to free those... Oh, that does it! That really does it! I am going to crush every last bone in...
No.
What? But Dusty!
We'll get to that, Dark. I promise. But before we do, I want to know why the Iron Knight decided to betray the land he swore to protect. How, Sir William, did it come to this?
Very well, I suppose an explanation is in order.
As Sir William Ross sat beside the ornate coffin, he began his tale. As the guardian of the stars, Sir William was entrusted with the Star Emblem, a sacred crest forged in ancient times by the magical guardians. This crest, when combined with the powers of the Iron Knights, would seal, banish, and command creatures of darkness. Thus, it has been the sacred duty of the Iron Knights to use the Star Emblem to maintain peace in the lands, generation after generation. Though Sir William knew of the elemental powers, the Star Guardians of Iron City were forbidden to use them. The ancient guardians deemed the Star Emblem sufficient for the knights to perform their function, as they feared what may happen should a knight acquire too much power. As a safety precaution, they placed an enchantment upon the Star Emblem, one that would banish any Iron Knight attempting to wield the elements to the depths of the catacomb. Such is the balance of power and darkness put in place by the ancient guardians. But William saw this as a grave injustice. He longed for more power, and to be free of his obligation as guardian of the stars. So, he set a plan into motion. William struck a bargain with the ancient being, under threat of his Star Emblem, which the creature so feared. With Elijah's assistance, William would rule the world as the highest lord, in exchange for granting Elijah his freedom. And so, William unsealed the coffin with the Star Emblem, unleashing the ancient being upon an unsuspecting world. It was only a matter of time before a group of heroes arose, wielding the power of the elements as they endeavored to reseal the ornate coffin. Thus, in bringing the power of the elemental guardians to the ancient tomb, our heroes have brought it within reach of Sir William. It is here and now that Sir William offers Dusty a deal, ownership of a piece of his new world, in exchange for the elemental powers. And it is here, at the end of this story, that Dusty rejects this atrocious proposition. But as the outraged Sir William prepared to unleash his fury upon Dusty and his friends, Elijah saw that the moment he had been waiting for had arrived. He took Sir William by surprise and slit his throat.
But we had a deal!
The betrayer has been betrayed in kind. This dark world was never yours to rule.
And it won't be yours either!
Dusty pierced the creature's chest. It let out a deafening screech, and at once the dark moon began to dissipate, its malevolence no longer cursing the land. It was then that a shooting star crossed the horizon, its light fading as it traveled into the distance. Our heroes watched as the ancient guardians took leave of their bodies, manifesting before them in the form of a radiant light. This light spoke to them, informing our heroes of the ancient failsafe they had unknowingly become a part of. The elemental powers had been imbued into shrines and scattered across various lands. Should William or his ancestors ever fail to keep the diabolical coffin sealed, the elemental powers could be used to destroy the ancient creature. But this could only succeed if those who found the powers were pure of heart and beyond the reach of the corruption such power might bring. As it turned out, our heroes were indeed worthy, and it was that worthiness that allowed them to destroy the darkness that had threatened the world for centuries. As the ancient guardians took their leave, Elijah's scythe magically separated into two pieces. Dusty and his friends looked upon the new weapons. Darg, with his brute strength, said he had no use for them. Snow and Leo, preferring ranged weaponry, simply looked on. Thus, Dusty and Kitsune each took up their weapon of choice, ready to defend the world for a better tomorrow.